Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon or evening, wherever you are. You're looking at Google Maps on my laptop. Now, you need to watch this from the beginning. There are no right or wrong answers, and I'm not going to have a gotcha moment with people from the Philippines. This is an analysis of a couple of things that have transpired in the past few days. And you're looking at the Philippines, and you can see my mouse hovering above the water. There's the Philippines. Y'all have seen it before. I'll zoom in a little bit more. Now, I didn't look at it, but y'all had a typhoon that hit Luzon. It did come, from what I was looked at, it came from over here and went in here. Maybe y'all can correct me on that, but that's beside the point. Y'all got hit by a typhoon up here, and a pretty bad one from what I've been told. Now, y'all know about the hurricane that just hit Florida, which is it's the same thing as a typhoon. It's just named differently. And I got a question for you people in the Philippines. Now, answer honestly. There's no right or wrong answer. I just want your honest answer. If you were in this scenario, um, you got a Category 5, which is a very bad storm, and your employer calls all the workers at a certain place, and you work there, and they want you to. The CEO still wants you to come to work, and says you can bring your kids, you can bring your dog, and we'll play movies for the kids, and everybody have a good old time. But you're at work, or you can work from home. But if you lose power, you don't get paid, let alone you're taking a risk because most likely you're going to lose power and you're not going to get paid and you're in the middle of a hurricane. Are you going to risk your life to go to work or to stay home and work from home? Are you going to risk life and limb? Are you going to risk your family? Are you going to risk, losing everything? You're, I mean, you're probably going to lose everything anyway. It's just, your life is more important than anything. That's the way I see it, especially me having 4 children. I would move them out of harm's way regardless. And I wouldn't take one iota of risk in putting them in danger. Um, One thing, what I would do is if I was stupid enough, and I've done crazy stuff in the truck, yes. If I went to work, I would have made sure my children were not there. They would be like at family, far away, out of the danger area, to where they would be safe. And if I was desperate enough, and crazy enough like I used to be, yeah, I'd probably go to work, but I would not put my children in danger. Well, I'm going to zoom this out and we're going to take a little trip over here. And you fly back home, you're going to follow this line here and up down the coast instead of going all the way around the globe like people think you do. But no, they follow the coast all the way up and around. And then we're going to come over here to Florida. And I'm using this map so you can get a good idea of what's going on. The hurricane Ian started down here and it was zigzagging along here and it came straight up and it barely missed Havana and it came up here. And the projections was, if you all can see my mouse, it started down here, went south of Jamaica and was zigzagging, and then took a hard right straight north, barely missed Havana, the eye did, came across, and it was going to be heading for Tampa. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in. And it was going to be heading for Tampa, and that's where those people were going to be working. He eventually called it up because that's bad press. And I want you to pause, think your answer, and then post it below. What you would do and what your thoughts are if you're Filipino or anybody. I want you to pause it and give your response. I want you to pause the video right now give you a response, and then you can listen to my analysis. And I'm going to start now. The analysis is this. That ought to tell you about the economic system we're in, which is capitalism. It puts profit over life any day of the week. And profits for who? The tiny number of people at the top, the CEOs, the boards of directors, and the major shareholders of those companies. They're that, for their profit. And he even was honest about it and said, I want to have a strong fourth quarter. Or no, a strong third quarter. It's the end of the third quarter. I want to have a strong third quarter, and hey, let's go to work. And he was playing it off like, yeah, the news does this. Yeah, we get so much information, you don't know who to believe over here anymore. I don't believe anything our media says. I go outside the country of the United States to get true news and information. I don't listen to anybody in the media over here because it's partisan. And some of these people are downright crazy. And anybody with half a brain would realize that how much do we have to be lied to say, okay, I'm not trusting what these idiots are saying anymore. But the boss, the CEO of that company that wanted his employees to come to work said, well, how the news, they always get it wrong, and they're over, hyping this thing and this and that, and everybody will be okay. Well, yeah. It was supposed to hit Tampa. You see my mouse right here to the left. I'm moving it around in a circle so you can see my mouse. This is the Tampa Bay area. All right, and let me get over here. Let me center this a little bit better for you. Now, I don't know if you can read it or not, but here's my mouse. You go straight. This is Clearwater, Florida, and Pinellas Park. And on the southern part of this, here's the mouse. In the southern part of this right here, that's St. Petersburg. And you go northeast from St. Pete, and that's Tampa, the city of Tampa. Tampa Bay is this big body of water right here, Old Tampa Bay right here, and along here. This is the whole Tampa Bay area that leads out to the Gulf of Mexico. This is where it was supposed to hit. The eye was supposed to hit, and it didn't. It hit down here in Fort Myers. Here's my mouse over here to the right. There's Cape Coral, there's North Naples, there's Marco Island, and you got all these little chain islands along here. Now, my son's football coach moved down here with his family a couple years ago. I will not name his name. He knows who he is if he watches this video. I called him because I don't think anybody contacted him to see if he was, are you okay? Are you getting out of there? And when I talked to him, he said, yeah, he was already in Miami, which is right over here, Miami. Which, he still could have been in a bit of danger, but they knew when the weather reports give it to you, they put a line. If you look at my mouse right here, they put a line from southern Florida all the way up the coast and around here. And usually the red would have been north of Tampa all the way down to here because they knew it was going to hit this and go east. But over here would have been yellow along the panhandle. My sister lives between Mobile and Pensacola, which is way up here. She used to live down here. If you're looking at my mouse, there's this like eye of water right here. That's Lake Okeechobee. My sister lived down there for years. And getting hit by hurricanes, she couldn't flush her toilets for months, and she had enough, so she moved to the Panhandle. And yet the Panhandle got hit a couple years after she moved up there, but it was bad, but not in her area. She got lucky. But I talked to Coach. He was already in Miami. He was safe. His son went up to Orlando. If you look at my mouse here on the right side of Florida, Orlando is right here, okay? That's where Disney World is, and you go northeast of there, and then there's Cape Canaveral and Port Canaveral. Right here is St. Augustine and Jacksonville, Florida. Talking with Ed and Faye, they live up here. Now they probably got winds and rain because it went right over, but not like it did down here. Now, aside from those workers, there were a lot of deaths down here. Okay, because there was a lot of people that left. And here's Port Charlotte. It all along here, there was a 30-mile wide eye that plowed into this area, and it was supposed to hit the Tampa area, but it didn't. Well, the people that were getting the news saying that it's going to hit Tampa were evacuating Tampa. Okay, now any wise man that would be living down here in Tampa wanted to get out of the way. My choice would be to go north and at least go to Lake City or into Georgia, anywhere between the Florida line and Macon, which is just south of Atlanta. I would have went way inland. You're still going to get storms along here, but the winds will die down and you'll still get a lot of rain, and there won't be surge from the ocean hitting that far end. No, thousands of people got the wise ass idea to leave Tampa and go right down to Fort Myers. From here to here. What kind of moron would have done that? You're staying in the danger zone because this whole area was red. Yeah, they projected it to be here. Well, sometimes they can be wrong. And they headed right into where the eye was. And a lot of people died. You look at the news, Google it, you'll hear about it. They went right down here where you should not have gone. What kind of idiots would do that? Every time you look at the history of all hurricanes hitting Florida, they usually come in this way or come from down here, and then they hit and they come around and go back out to the Atlantic Ocean. And on occasion, they still hug the coast, hit through here, or they come up here and they hit up in the Northeast. But logic would tell you would be to go northwest and inland. Years ago, it wasn't Katrina. There was a hurricane that was hitting the New Orleans area. I was delivering a load in Hammond, load of furniture. It hadn't made landfall yet. The eye was still right about out here when I delivered it. He says, I don't have a load for you. My suggestion is just to get out of the area. I said, I plan on it. Anyway, usually when you got a hurricane in the Gulf, it comes in, hits, and then goes northeast. Because most of our storms start from the northwest and come along this way. Goes southeast or just directly east. You got all that pressure here. That's why every time a hurricane comes in, it hits, and then it sometimes it makes it around the Appalachian mountain chain, but for the most part, it hits and goes back out east. So what I did was, when I was in Hammond, it's right by Nolens, I headed directly west. And I made it to Houston, and I still kept feeling the winds. So I deadheaded all the way to Dallas. I went from there to Houston and took 45 up to Dallas. And I figured I was out of the way. Well, I wasn't. The hurricane came in, it hit, and it was going this way, the same direction I was going. But when it reached Dallas, it curved to the right, went northeast. It went this way. But look, Americans, we do a lot of things ass backwards. And me, I would let logic dictate my decisions, not just because somebody thinks they got a good idea. Say, hey, we're going down to Fort Myers. It's not that far away. And we should be safe. No, you went right into it and probably killed your family in the process. Or you're in danger and can't get out of that area because it's really bad. But this is what happened. But I want you Pinays, people from the Philippines, to answer that question. If you were asked by your boss, knowing that a Category 5 hurricane was barreling down in your area, would you still go to work? Would you bring your family, your dog, everything to work? so they can watch Disney or some program that they're going to have there for you while you would do work, and the wind's outside howling at 170 miles an hour, blowing debris. You know, anything can blow right through a building and hit somebody and kill you. See, it's not the fact that the wind is blowing, it's what the wind is blowing. And I'll tell you what, I've been in tropical storms, I've been in hurricanes, and I was in one typhoon. These winds don't play around. They're a sustained wind for a long period of time. Unlike a tornado, which the winds are twice as bad. If you're in a Cat 4 or EF4 or EF5 tornado, you're talking the 350 mile an hour winds. Not only that, you got microbursts around it. You'd be lucky to get near the tornado without being blown away. But that's not sustained. If you're in the tornado, you're probably in it for no less than 30 to 60 seconds and it's gone. Unless it does some dramatic thing and shifts back, which in the history study of tornadoes, I've never seen that where it hit an area and then left and then came back. I have never seen that. Now, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I'd like to get that information if it ever had, because it would be very interesting. But me, I would not have risked my life for anything. And when a hurricane hits Florida, basically, you just want to get out of the southern part of that state. Here's my mouse again. You want to get totally out of this area. You want to get north of the line. You want to go into Georgia, or you want to go west and come over here to Mobile, or just get away from the coast, period, depending on where this hurricane's coming from. Because they can give you projections, but I've seen these hurricanes take crazy turns. I think it was, if it wasn't last year, it was the year before. There was a hurricane that came in here. If you see my mouse, there was a hurricane that came in this way, and it reached and stopped right here off the coast of West Palm Beach. And it stayed there for about a few hours. And then it started to move again and went straight north. Weirdest thing I ever seen. This hurricane was making good speed, came here, tore the Bahama Islands up, and then just stopped right here off the coast, and then went straight north. If you Google it, it was, I believe, 2 years ago. I could be wrong. I can't remember exactly, but I remember that hurricane doing that. But you got a lot of fronts in play here that come down to Florida. You got the pressure coming from Africa going this way. You got the other pressure coming from this way, and that's why there are so many tornadoes in this area of the United States, because you got that warm air coming up from the Gulf, and you got the cold air coming off those Rocky Mountains here and coming down to the plains, and that's why it makes it an unstable area here, and that's why we have a lot of tornadoes here in this area. Because every time you got a storm that comes up here, ba-boom, and it goes this way. Well, it loaded the hurricane. The hurricane's right here now. But I don't know why it disappears when I zoom it in like that. I've never seen this before. Whoa. That'll make you sick. All right. But typically, yeah, the hurricane comes in, it hits, and it goes right up to the northeast. And from what I've been told, if you look, one of these two is going to be a hurricane. I think this one right here. But for the most part, that's where our hurricanes come from, Western Africa, and they come right across the Atlantic, and they plow into our islands here or Florida itself. Or it threads the needle between Mexico and Florida right here, goes into the Gulf and comes in here and comes up and either hits Mississippi, Alabama, the Panhandle of Florida, Louisiana, or Texas right here. Very rarely do I see it come and go south and then hit Mexico. And it looks like we got a typhoon off the coast of Mexico, or two of them right here. If this is a live, I'm assuming this is a live Google Earth of the clouds, but I'm surprised when I zoom in, it disappears. But those are the questions I have here. I don't want to make the video too long, and I appreciate you all coming. Please post your opinion down below. But I'm very critical of my country. I love my country just like anybody else, but I'm not going to have to prove my love of my country when I'm not following stupidity. This is about people's stupidity, not about my country. It's about the people who live in my country that do stupid shit to get people killed. But hey, you guys have a good day. Hopefully you see one in your live streams. Y'all have a good one. Bye-bye.